the two brothers and their heroics on that day, in which they both lost their lives. And then their father and mother searching for them. Their dad, you would think, is the start of all this. Their dad was a legendary, heroic, multi-decorated, high-ranking chief ultimately, but worked his way up from the bottom of the fire department that everybody in the fire department knew, named John Vigiano. He was an icon of the New York City Fire Department. New York City Fire Department, even more than the police department, is like a club of out-of-this-world heroes. I know you think I'm exaggerating. If you were mayor of New York and you knew what you had to deal with when you became mayor and you ended up seeing how these people perform, I'm underestimating. So, two sons from Joseph, John, Joseph. John follows in Dad's footsteps and becomes a firefighter. I believe that was sort of the tradition of the family going back 180 years, being firefighters, I think. Joseph goes off and does something different. He becomes a police officer. But immediately he keeps trying to get into the ESU unit, which is close to being a firefighter as you can get. Because and in fact, it has created hostility between the two. Because they go and do rescues, and the fire department does rescues. So Joe and Joseph and John die on September 11th doing rescues. Their father comes back, retired, maybe 70 at this point, still known by every firefighter because of his legend, and begins searching for his son's bodies. And the whole one of that story becomes one of the 10 or 12 iconic stories of September 11. It becomes a movie called Twin Towers. And now a new movie is coming out. And the new movie is about the next generation, because two of Joe's sons have now become hero police officers themselves. And if you would like to see them, this is the picture of them. And that is that woman, maybe tougher than all of them. That's Kathy, who keeps her husband alive every day. She's run every organization having to do with September 11. She's a New York City retired detective with her own list of heroics. And they all belong in the Hall of Fame. So there's a new movie coming out. I think it's out now. It should be out now, about exactly why the sons followed in Dad's footsteps. And I'm looking at the one on the right. I can't see the one on the left. That's a hell of a lot of medals to get for the amount of time he's been in the police department. Gee, he's a baby. When I did the eulogy at the funerals for the two boys, they were babies, and they were probably one of the babies that made me cry, because I could get through the eulogies if there were no kids around. But when I did the Vigianos, I'm looking at these boys, and I say to myself, and this is not unusual with just them, how is it that they're going to grow up without a father? Because a terrorist came along and killed them for no reason at all. And not only that, they didn't have to be killed. They got killed by choice. Both these men were very intelligent men, as their father was and as their children are. And they knew, and not only that, they understood emergencies better than all the jackasses that talk about it on television. They knew they were going to die. I talked to some going in that knew they were going to die. I'm not just making this up for melodramatic effect. I mean, they knew they were going to die. Now, there are some that they all knew they were going to die. They're professionals. Some of them elect to put it in the back of their mind and they just ignore it. Some have in the front of their mind because it gives them a chance maybe to avoid actually dying, because there's always a few people escape, but they know the risk they're facing. It's like Tunnel to Towers that you hear the advertisement for, with the Siller family. It's all built on their brother who was off that day, went, got his equipment, ran to the tower, saved people, and died. When he was running to that tower, when he came out of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, he was running to that tower, which I've recreated, oh God, how many times. He saw a fire that you or I would run away from. But his job that he swore to do was to run to it. A lot of people have a job they swore to, and when it gets too dangerous, they run the other way. Not Steven Siller. Not the Vigianos. So I urge you to and we'll get you more details on the new documentary. They have an older documentary which you can get now called Twin Tower, which describes the heroics of John and Joseph and the role of the patriarch in the family. But I would like you to. I would also like to make one other point. And you tell me what you think of this point, okay? Please, let Ted know what you think. This is important to me, this point. And at some point over the course of these weeks leading up to that, I'll explain to you the importance of it. I'm not going to do it now. Do you know that both of them were very, very religious, practicing Roman Catholics? Because I know their priest. Do you know how many of them were? And now we have people saying that forget the prayers and the thoughts. I mean, they don't mean anything. I am convinced, and I don't know, people can disagree with this. I'm convinced of one of the primary reasons these people can overcome the natural fear that anybody would have of going to a burning building. And I would tell you to run away from a burning building. You know why they run in? Because they're very religious men. And some of them carry themselves that way, some don't. But I'm sure that Jesus would all recognize them that way. Because they're all able to say that somebody else's life is important enough that they'll sacrifice their own. That is a great person. That's a great Christian. And the religion that teaches that is the Christian religion. No, I'm sorry. It's just hard to get through this. There were so many like them. They do stand for so many others. And then in some ways, they really are entitled to their own individual recognition. And next week, we'll have Kathy on. Kathy is a good friend and a woman who's made her own contributions. I don't know, Kathy should be on to talk to people about how to deal with death of your husband or your child. Or she's completely broken by it and completely able to be totally productive. Wow. Like the Stillers that sponsored Tunnel to Towers. Well, the Ukraine war is still going on, except it seems very one-sided. So yesterday, Putin attacked the capital of Ukraine again, Kyiv. Remember, we had Mayor Klitschko on last week, the mayor of Kyiv. We tried to reach him today, right?
We did. Sometimes, I don't know what time it is there, but he does get back to me. I'll check again. But now it might be a little late.
Now it's the middle of the night. And you should know that the mayor of Kyiv was my client, is my good friend. I've worked for him in several capacities as his lawyer, as his consultant, even as a political consultant for a while when he ran for mayor. He was the heavyweight champion of the world, one of the greatest, undefeated. I worry about him. I've been worrying about him for years. I mean, from the first 2014 thing when he called me up and needed help. I was on a golf course and he was in the middle of being shot at. And well, in any event, Putin, who is, well, I'm just going to report the facts, let you decide, because I have very strong feelings about this. Putin, on Thursday, today's Friday, right? On Thursday, he unleashed an attack, and the time zones confused me, so maybe it was leading into Friday or whatever. He unleashed a massive attack on Kyiv, probably the largest attack they've done on Kyiv. And here the war is theoretically moving toward a solution, and he is killing more people than it's like we're getting near the end. I want to make sure I kill as many as I can. Do you get the idea of what a maniacal killer this guy is? Don't ever leave it out of your head, ever, for a second. 629 drones. He killed 17 people and 4 children that don't have to die. This war is ready to be solved, be over. Move on. You got your territory. You're going to have to give some back. You may get some. You got to do this now. You got to continue to kill people. You're not going to accomplish anything. They're not going to give you more because you're doing this. Two missiles hit the UK and the EU Council. I'm sure that didn't sit well with them. And he killed a certain number of children. As of last night, it was 4. They think it's more than that. Most of the casualties and the deaths were civilians. And since it was right in the middle of Kyiv, it was designed to be for civilians. So I don't know how much more time we're going to give him, but every day we give him is the last day for any number of innocent civilians in Ukraine. And boy, you can have hard feelings toward Ukraine, toward the leadership, toward the crooked oligarchs, toward the people who manipulated our election when they claimed the Russians did. The people who are hiding the evidence of unbelievable corruption at the highest levels of their government and ours. You can have all those feelings. But it doesn't affect the wonderful, beautiful, religious, educated people of Ukraine. They're victims of this. And they deserve consideration. And when somebody like this monster, Putin, goes after them directly, it's just out of complete meanness. And the Ukrainians have gotten themselves into a state of mind now, and Putin is smart enough to realize this, that the more he terrorizes them, the more obstinate they're going to become. There's a point at which someone humiliates you enough where, if you're a solid person, you say, I'd rather die.
This track with the president.
What is this, Ted?
Sorry, I was just going to play some B-roll while you talked. There wasn't supposed to be sound.
Oh, just B-roll? That's okay. I don't care.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I thought there was something you wanted to show.
Oh, nope, just B-roll while you talk, and unfortunately the sound played, so we interrupted your brilliant comments.
problem for Ukraine is they have to accomplish moving a country out of their country, and they're not allowed to attack that country. Biden didn't let them do it. And now we have people at the State Department that have to approve their use of our weapons, like Clayton Elberry. What the hell is his name? Clayton Eldridge Berry-Boo? Berry, I thought it was. Berry-Boo. Eldridge Bolton?
Elbridge Colby.
Eldridge
Bolton.
Bully. What's his name?
Elbridge Colby.
Eldridge Colby. Who the hell is he? He's the one that has denied permission to Ukraine to use some of the long-range missiles we have to kick the shit out of Russia so they'll stop killing Ukrainians. Now, you don't let people defend yourself? I don't know. I wish the president put it all together. The president said that Ukraine is entitled to attack Russia if Russia's attacking them. But Eldridge Colby, I guess, is really in charge. Eldridge Kubi. Ron Kubi.
Colby.
Now, exactly who is he? He's an assistant secretary of paper?
Well, I'll get that for you, Mayor.
And why doesn't Marco just slap him in the head?
He follows you on Twitter.
Well, then if you follow me on Twitter, Eldridge, would you let the Ukrainians defend themselves?
He's the undersecretary.
You're like some girlfriends I have when I get into fights and they grab my hands. I say, thank you. You can get me killed.
There's Elbridge right here. Picture of Elbridge.
I don't know what the heck provokes you to do this. But you got a problem. You got a problem between Ukraine and Russia. It's not as exaggerated as between Israel and Hamas of moral equivalence. Israel and Hamas are on two different planes. One is an established government that makes mistakes but tries to correct them like we do. Israel is very, very much morally like we are. And Hamas and the entire Palestinian Authority is anywhere from radical terrorists to supporting it, with maybe a few percent Palestinians who don't. Now, we go to Russia. Ukraine is a flawed government that has been cooperating illegally for the purpose of huge amounts of wealth transfer from the people of Ukraine to the oligarchs and to Democrat politicians in the United States and a couple of Americans. And they continue to do it, and I am sure it involved the money we gave them to defend themselves. And I'm sure Zelensky participated in that, as he's covered up massive criminality on the part of the people at the highest levels of his government and ours. On the other hand, it's a group of people that are extraordinarily good people, hardworking people, very religious people, who have been dealt a terrible deal, going back to Tsarist Russia and communist Russia and the Nazis, and who really very, very much want to be a modern European democracy. And if we had worked with them and helped them instead of help corrupt them, Joe Biden was sent there to solve their corruption, and he became, as crooked or worse than their oligarchs. So he would lecture about corruption, and they'd laugh at him, because the pretext here in the United States, you go to Ukraine, you ask about Joe Biden, they'll tell you he's the biggest crook. They will say he's a bigger crook than their crooks. I don't know if that's true, but he sure challenges it. So we bear some responsibility for Ukraine not being able to work itself out of the corruption that overlays it. But at least to put together the structure of a democratic government, it has some of those possibilities, like they were able to get rid of some really, really terrible dictators. And their heart is moving in that direction. and we've got possibilities with them. To say they don't count in terms of the national interest of the United States, it's just plain wrong. That's being an isolationist without analysis. An isolation without analysis is you stay out of everything, as opposed to you stay out of the ones that really don't affect you, and you make sure you're a material part of the ones that do, because otherwise you'll have a Hitler happen, like at Munich. There's no, and anybody who likes to see themselves described uniformly as an interventionist or an isolationist, it's just somebody that's too lazy to think. You shouldn't be either. The circumstances should determine what you're going to be. In any event, it's time to put the screws on Biden. I'm sorry, on Putin. Yeah, it's time to put the screws on Biden too, but what would it matter? They just put him in a nut house. It's time to deprive him of oil, to deprive him of everything, so that he becomes a total failure in his country, and maybe they overthrow him and they sit down and make a reasonable peace where they have to give half and Ukraine's got to give half, not set up a situation so that they can easily move in and take over the rest of Ukraine at will, which is what they have posited. And the president should be really, really mad because they double-crossed him. And they're trying to blame it on Steve Witkoff, which is hilarious. I'm sure Steve Witkoff just conveyed what he was told. And I'm sure he's telling the truth and they're lying. Steve Witkoff is a man well known for telling the truth, and they're well known for being the biggest liars maybe in the history of the world. So I don't know, that's not hard to figure that one out.
Well said.
So shall we take a break and see what we got to sell and make sure that people take care of particularly T2T.org?
Let's take a quick moment. And yes, as the mayor said, support Tunnel to Towers. Now's the time.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. So next week, over the weekend, this Labor Day weekend, I'm going to start trying to isolate, and it won't be terribly long, but I thought it might be useful if I isolated some things about September 11 as we get to the the anniversary that were different then than now. I can think of a few quickly. I'm going to try to come up with 7 or 8 or 9. I think if I push my memory and I push my thinking and test it out with Ted or Dr. Maria or some of my other some of my former deputy mayors, it was it amazed me when the pandemic happened how we didn't react the same way we did on September 11th. I mean, the one that shocked me the most when they threw God out. When they said you can't go to Easter Mass, you can't go to High Holy Days, because we've relied so much on God during September 11th. Like the idea that you would get these nasty comments about prayer from Little Red Riding Hood or the boy mayor of Minneapolis, who shouldn't be mayor of anything. I mean, the guy gave up a police station. That should have been the end of him. Just to see him around makes me want to vomit. And every cop in America. And now he's saying ridiculous. First thing he talked about when these kids just got killed, and he walks out and he says, I don't want anyone to be unfair if you tortured transgender people and went after them. I'm not even sure anybody knew that the guy was transgender at the time. Nobody was doing that. Maybe he invited it. How do I know? But I mean, I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't need to examine what's wrong with him. He's proved he shouldn't be anywhere near protecting other people because he gets them killed. And I am convinced, and I know there are people who would dispute this, that guy is one of the single major causes of all those riots. Because he gave them, the minute a police department surrendered a police department, that reverberated all over the country. And they started to look for places of weakness where they could do that. And they had plenty of them because Soros had purchased them for them. I remember, again, Bernie, died just a while back, so I think of Bernie a lot. And Bernie and I spent a lot of time together, always, on the anniversaries of September 11. I would go with him, he would come with me. And then leading up to September 11, we were on the phone all the time, like with Tom Von Essen. And our third partner, Richie Shearer, is gone. He was the head of Office of Emergency Management. But when that happened, I don't know if I called Bernie or Bernie called me, and I can't tell you the language we used. I think we were both thinking of getting on a plane and going and beating the shit out of it, the little baby. He said, "This is a terrible thing, boss. I mean, this is going to reverberate all over." I said, "Bernie, what would I have done?" I don't know. I would just hypothetically. He said, "Well, you would have come with me and gone. You wouldn't let me go to the precinct alone. You'd have come with me. We'd have sat in that precinct, and they'd either be dead or we'd be dead. But they weren't going to get the precinct. Not going to take a New York City precinct, a bunch of animals. But what are we're going to go back to 1,000 years? I mean, don't these people know we're protecting Western civilization? Well, because they hate Western civilization. We're not just protecting Western civilization. We're protecting civilization. They're uncivilized. They're uncivilized animals that will, in a rage, bring down an entire city, kill all kinds of innocent people. And they become the heroes. And then we make statues to George Floyd, gold statues to George Floyd. The only thing about his life is noteworthy is the way he died, which may also have been misrepresented. Everything about his life was misrepresented. Why wouldn't that be? prayer is not freaking enough? Freaking enough? Why don't they take her off the air? God, we have to endure that in a country that was based on rights that come from God? I'm sorry, little red lying hood. You were a disgraceful, traitorous, incompetent, lying jackass who served the worst president, who was a traitor to the United States. What the hell you're doing on that disgusting network? Well, it says everything you can about that network. She's on CNBC, MSNBC, or CNN?
MSNBC,
Of
soon
course,
to be
yeah.
MS.
Are they the worst, Ken?
Yes, yeah. I think
That
most.
freaking prayer? Does that asshole realize that this was a Catholic church where these children were praying, and whether she is, too smart to believe in God or not, almost all their parents do. And when she says that goes right to their heart. Boom. You want to join the terrorists? Well, since you empower them, and you have throughout your entire administration, and your boss gave him more money than anybody, who should be in jail for that, as well as about 10 other things, and you probably should be there for aiding and abetting him. But to have you on a television station saying freaking prayer? And you don't want to tell me that comes from the brainwashing that you got in your education or growing up as a Democrat to be a communist? Who was the philosopher of the 19th century whose goal was to eliminate God? Can you name him, little red lying hood? Or are you a smart or stupid victim of Ivy League type education? Well, if you're a smart one, you know the answer and you know exactly what you're doing. If you're a dumb one, you're just brainwashed. But either way, you're a useless creature. I don't know if you or the one who looked like she put her hand in a electric socket and every day got her hair. Woo, 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 woo.
Well, the vice president had a strong response. We'll put it on the screen now.
Which vice president?
Our vice president, J.D.
You mean
Vance,
the real vice president?
responded to Jen Psaki's
good vice president.
Yeah, disgusting.
The recent convert to Catholicism.
Right. The vice president says, "We pray because our hearts are broken. We pray because we know God listens. We pray because we know that God works in mysterious ways and can inspire us to further action. Why do you feel the need to attack other people for praying when kids were just killed praying?"
Thank you, JD. I'm almost crying with what you said. Thank you. It's pathetic that you have to stand up for God. Somebody has to stand up for God in America when something like this happens. See, this is again the thing about September 11 I don't get. One of the first things I said is, let's all pray for help from God that is bigger than us. Nobody criticized me for that, even the Democrats. Even Tampon Tim said we should pray to God. Maybe he did it. Maybe he did it as a memorized incantation. Maybe he did it from his heart, but he did it.
Well, what he didn't do is attack prayer after. It's just so hard to even wrap your head around.
But now you got to see the quality of the person or the non-person that was doing that job for a couple of years.
Right.
That's a vicious human being.
Right. Just awful. And on that note, we want to honor the
I got to tell you that for some reason, Ted, these things bring out the worst in them. Now, on September 11, it brought out the best in them. I'm some of the Democrats.
Right.
So what's happened this is what we should think about a lot over the weekend.
Right.
And try, since there are certain things you can give people the benefit of your own experience. We should think out, because I haven't done it. So why is that different? September 11, they were all supporting America. They were all supporting Bush. They were all supporting me. I mean, truly, it wasn't just garbage. They actually came through.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, they're attacking God. I mean, I can't tell you how many, some of the firefighters, how many of those firefighters were extremely religious. I have never gone to more masses in my entire life, and I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy. I've never been to more masses in my entire life than when that happened. 2 a day, 3 a day, and then there'd be Protestant services and Jewish services. 90% of the people who died were anywhere from absolutely religious to at least religious. You have to respect that. And help bring people together. Religion, God, help bring people together. Now we're going to be separated by the fact that a large group of Democrats want to attack prayer and God. Freaking prayer. I mean, there's no doubt she should be thrown off the station for saying that. And what the hell? They want the biggest liar. Oh, no, maybe the other one, electric socket hair, should be the one to go. I don't know. Does she have a job yet doing anything?
I actually haven't seen her around.
There must be somebody that wants her to come out every day and lie for them.
Right. I
mean, Little Red Lying Hood does it for MSNBC. She comes out every day and lies for them. She's doing the same thing she did when she was the press secretary to the most perverted, the most dishonest, the most crooked, and the most demented president ever. That must be a real high for you, liar, huh? And you know it, right? You know that he half the time he put the ice cream in his mouth, he missed. You had to have seen that. Well, China completed the trial of Jimmy Lai. Now, why should you know about that? You should know about that because you have to constantly be reminded that China is a vicious, horrible, anti-human dictatorship that tries people the way we used to try Trump people during the Biden administration. They don't get a right to defend themselves. They don't get a right to do anything. The trial is a show trial, as mine was, as Trump's was. Then Jimmy Lai got convicted the other day and Jimmy Lai was a hero of Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai actually believed that China, I don't know if he actually believed it, but he hoped that China would live up to their promise that Hong Kong would not be taken over and made into a subservient vassal of the Red Chinese government, which they have been. And now, because he speaks out about it, they want to take his freedom and liberty away. And they gave him a trial in which people, had some opportunity to find out what was going on. I don't know if it was unfair as a trial against Trump with Engoron. I don't know. That was about as unfair as it could get. Or the trial with that other judge whose name I keep escaping, the one whose daughter made $1 million afterward from Biden and Harris, and nobody seems to care. And nobody cares about the judges who railroaded me or the bar associations that threw me out based on not on complaints from real people, but complaints from political activists and kind of handled by complete political creeps. The one in New York completely ignored something they should have investigated, which is the critical tape about Georgia. How much was eliminated, Ted? I always forget the amount, 30, 40 minutes?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah.
It was all the critical, pieces. And it's like it doesn't
at least
matter.
A half hour.
That might have explained why the Secretary of State of Georgia is such a damn criminal. And the president never should have been indicted for the conversation with him, because he's the one who handed over to the prosecutor. But the prosecutor said, I didn't know that this was all eliminated. It was given to me this way. Now, that may or may not be true. But that suggests that the prosecutor in New York, who also is a criminal for covering this up, Never bothered to listen to it. He just assumed I was guilty. I mean, fine. Never occurring to him that well, of course it occurred to him, that none of the parties in the case were asking for any discipline for me. The judge wasn't. He ruled against me because he was required to rule against me. What, do you think I'm stupid? I don't understand why he did it. And then I had a judge that was appointed, and that judge was like a retired judge. I don't know if she was 50, 60, 70, 80. I mean, she acted like she was about 95 and looked it, and she spent most of her time looking at her cell phone, which I'm not sure she knew how to operate. And when she was confronted with the absolutely startling, dramatic, absolutely incriminating evidence that Georgia sent to New York, a tape that had been highly doctored, she just ignored it. Like it happens all the time. I guess it does happen all the time in the crooked Democrat New York courts. And nobody wants to do anything about it. So I get disbarred, and lawyers who steal enormous amounts of money, if they tie in right with the Democrats and I guess pay off enough money to the Democratic leader, you can get to almost any New York City Supreme Court justice if you can get to the Democratic district leader, because that guy's life depends on the Democratic district leader. Now, should a court be arranged that way? Of course it should. The courts have been arranged that way in New York from time immemorial. And the Bar Association that disbarred me supports that. Get it? Mayor Bowser was in an interesting position the other day.
She's kind of turning her tune, Mayor.
Well, I can't tell. She was for the National Guard before she was against the National Guard, and now she's for Trump again. But I think she's not sure about the National Guard. But she had to thank them for bringing crime down by numbers that she couldn't even dream of.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been, now she's thinking about any possibility of being reelected. And she's also trying to ward off the possibility that Congress will take D.C. back. And it should, because D.C. is a dangerous place to be. And when we're talking about people getting killed, we shouldn't be dealing with all this sensitivity thing. The sensitivity is for the families, you have to explain that their people were killed. Not, oh, this is the people in District of Columbia should be allowed to have. Look, if they elect to live there, they're living in a place the Constitution has put aside as a very special piece of federal property. You decide to live on West Point, you're governed by federal law.
Yeah.
You decide to live in the District of Columbia, you're governed by federal law.
Right. That's a good point, Mayor.
They did this whole thing to see if self-governance would work. It doesn't. They've had a mayor who was selling drugs. They've had crime records. Right now, with crime down, you got a 7 times greater chance of being killed in the district than in New York. And you think they're going to change that once Trump? That affects the entire country, not just the people who live there. And if you don't like being governed by federal law, go live somewhere else. Americans were always very mobile. If they didn't like conditions in New York, they moved to Ohio. They're doing it right now. They're moving out of New York like crazy, and Chicago. I mean, you would not know that from the communist press, but you would know it just from your life experience. My God, I have more people in Florida who come from New York than in New York. I thought I'd be lonely in Florida. I'm surrounded by New Yorkers. I can't go out without, I come from New York. I come from New York. You were the mayor. You should go back. You should be mayor. No, stay here. I mean, am I exaggerating one bit, Ted?
Yeah.
I am?
No. You caught me there.
Gosh. Oh. Well, Bowser had to admit it. Meanwhile, the dumbest man in Chicago, who I learned from Rob Schmidt is the mayor.
Right.
I didn't know that. Doesn't want the National Guard. because he likes the idea that every weekend 4 to 10 people get killed
Right.
and 15 to 40 get wounded,
Right.
of which 90% are black, because he doesn't like black people, I guess, even though he's black.
Yep.
So he likes it that way. Probably there's a lot of people in Chicago he doesn't like, because a lot of them are getting killed and 90% of them are black. And he's got to become some kind of a sick idiot. Well, what is he? A political moron automaton?
It baffles the mind how
He doesn't care
these
about his own people.
right, and how they get where do they have any sort of support? I mean, the last mayor, Lightfoot, was thrown out of office
Well,
for this
lost
guy.
Didn't she lose to him?
To this guy. So maybe they don't learn, and the voters did throw the last one out, but we'll see with this one how the public reacts, because what you're seeing in Washington is a very successful operation. So it's putting some Democrats into a little bit of a bind.
Any more commercials we have to do?
We've done them all.
Good. I want to show people this, because they've decided to give a military funeral to Ashli Babbitt, of which I am extremely supportive. I wear this all the time since her mom gave it to me. I'm going to take it off when they convict her murderer. Think I know who he is? There. This shouldn't happen. I have very, very strong feelings about homicide as an ex-prosecutor. Homicide was the thing you never gave up on. The police department that I come from has a tradition of endless open cases for homicide. You never close it. 200 years ago, we'll solve a homicide. Now, God will look at it for us. You don't let people, you know what that does when you have a police department that says that every homicide case is open? It's like abortion and some of the other things. When they write the history of this era from the point of view of a great moral theologian, they're going to say that it's the diminishing and unbelievable elimination of the respect for human life that brought us to where we are. There's nothing more precious than human life. And there's nothing that you have a right to interfere with where that barrier is greater than human life. And what we've done in the name of really Marxism, because that emerges, that idea that human life emerges from belief in God. But communists believe that only stupid people believe in God because they're smarter than God. And second, that all this respect for human life, et cetera, is just silly. It means that the powerful people will destroy the weak people because it's just a fake whatever. And then they become massive bloodthirsty murderers, which is what happened in Russia, what happened in China, what will happen to us in the direction that we're going. This was a very important human life that was taken from us. This was a very, very good woman who served a country in the military, who on September 11, although they condemn her for coming in there, and first of all, they have no idea if she went in there illegally or not. There's no record of whether she jumped over something or pushed her way through or was invited in. There are examples, numerous, of people being invited in, a lot more than people who came in illegally. Invited in, door open for them. Please open the door for me. I don't know. I kind of figure I can go in. What I just told you was considerably more than people jumping over, and some of the people that pushed their way and then been prosecuted. I will tell you, I am convinced from hard evidence that was completely orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi, by the Democrats, just the way they orchestrated Russian collusion, the Ukrainian conversation, the extraordinary, unbelievable mass censorship of the single most relevant piece of information to a presidential election, Hunter Biden's computer, hard drive, and accused me and Trump of being Russian operatives from 51 so-called former intelligence agents, all bums. One of them just wrote an editorial in the Wall Street Journal because Murdoch, is sucking his you-know-what. I mean, these people are disgraceful. Saying about a hard drive that was 100% true and revealed massive criminality on the part of our degenerate president and his drug-addicted son. But, this has earmarks of Russian disinformation. No one bothered to ask, what earmarks? Earmarks. Can you mention one? Oh, there are too many to mention. Well, since there are too many, could you just pick one? No. Well, did you ever look at it? No. How long did you have to decide that? Can't remember. Like 3-4 minutes? Yes. You have a security clearance? Yes. If you didn't sign it, you think Biden would have taken it from you? Yes. Oh. You're making a lot of money from that security clearance. Well, I'm going to tell you who the one was. I'm going to show it to you. Because I think he's the worst because he knows me. He knows I'm not a Russian agent. He knows that's complete bullshit. And he's too smart to have gone for it. He's way, way too damn smart to have gone for it. And that's the worst part of it. He did it maliciously.
Right.
And for that, he should be put in prison. Because he helped to orchestrate the fraudulent election of a president by depriving the American people of extraordinarily material information. And he goes around being honored by people. People should spit at him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. You go to jail for spitting at somebody? Because if I met him, it would be really hard not to spit at him. But he claimed to be like an admirer of mine.
Yeah. Who are we talking?
I'd probably go to jail. I'll show you the article right here. It's right here.
Well, of course. While we wait here, the mayor's going to pull up this article. It's just another example of how the Biden administration didn't just weaponize the Justice Department, but they flat out used the Justice Department and intelligence agencies to concoct a totally false lie in order to subvert our election system.
Leon Panetta. It was yesterday's Wall Street Journal. It's called The Great Bipartisan Abdication, which means nothing in comparison to the great lie of our disloyal, traitorous intelligence community. I mean, Leon is part of the group of those 50. Remember, if you want to think the worst thing about that 51 is they lied about Trump and me, the worst thing is they're the architects of our intelligence for the last 20 years before that. Benghazi, weapons of mass destruction, not paying attention to bin Laden so that I almost died on September 11 and a lot of my friends died. You think I have any respect for these people? This is what's wrong with us. Leon Panetta is what's wrong with us. He should be disgraced. The Wall Street Journal, when he submits an article, should say, we're not going to take it. Instead, they would do it to me. like Murdoch won't let me on Fox. I don't know what's wrong with Murdoch. Some kind of love for China, some kind of love for these traitors like Panetta. I used to be a friend of his. I helped him get Fox television. And he's going to die an enemy of the United States by promoting all of these completely totally vicious people. But in any event, Ashli Babbitt's going to get a military funeral. I like that, and I am very, very supportive of that. And I hope what that means is there's going to be a full and complete investigation, because there's no doubt she was murdered. I don't have a doubt in the world. I've studied that tape. I've studied that tape specifically with with homicide detectives, and asked them to please critique my ideas about it. And I'll do a special show with them if you want. And I will show you that this was at a maximum first-degree murder, at a minimum criminally negligent homicide. I'll just give you one little hint. The defense for a police officer killing an unarmed person, and she was unarmed, is that they're in legitimate fear for their life. There isn't a way in the world that this guy was in legitimate fear for his life. He wasn't even in fear for his life, much less legitimate fear. And I can demonstrate that, because he shot the wrong people if he was in fear. I'm not going to go through it now, but we will have plenty of time over and over again to hound the U.S. Attorney's Office in the district to prosecute Detective Bell for killing, murdering a veteran and a woman who was actually concerned about reality, which is that the 2020 election was stolen. Wake up, it was. The evidence of that is overwhelming. The evidence of the interference and corruption that prevented the ability to prove that is also overwhelming. And if you want to escape reality and go off in your own little world, go ahead. So tonight, I want you to go over to Lindell TV, where I used to be, like for an hour before this. And I'd like you to get used to that so that you can watch the beginning of our show, our 8 o'clock show on Lindell or on X. But in any event, Dr. Maria is on. She's going to have a great show tonight. A couple of little things I want to wrap up before you do that. Mark Teixeira, who is a good friend of mine and somebody I really love because he's the last, he was on the last Yankee World Series team, and he was more than just an appendage. He's one of the reasons they won it. Mark had a great season. He had a great playoff. He had a great World Series. Both Jeter and A-Rod and will tell you, I think Soraniano was at second. Yeah, that's one of his home runs. I think it was a walk-off. There's Mark.
Driven down the left field line.
Now that's hard to do with a right-hander. Much easier to get home runs with a left-hander in New York City, in Yankee Stadium. I was at that game. I remember that, because it was yesterday. Yeah, I'm not even sure Minnesota ever beat us in any playoff game. It was like a hex we had on them. The tougher games were with Lou Piniella and Seattle. Those were tough. Felt sorry for Lou, because he was a great Yankee too. Remember one time when he lost to us after he had the greatest season in the history of baseball? I went into the dugout. I said, Lou, I feel sorry for you. He said, I just can't beat those effing Yankees. We're not going to show the same one, are we? Oh, that's not right. We can find another. I mean, Teixeira had more than one home run.
Right. Of course.
I also want to point out, because it's often overlooked, he was a Gold Glove winner like about 7 times. When he played for Texas as well as when he played for New York.
Right.
The guy was a magician at first base. And the point that I was making was during that period of time, the Yankees infield set the record for the longest period of time without an error. And when it was over with, their one Hall of Famer and the one who should be said it's because of Teixeira. But both A-Rod and Jeter threw Teixeira balls that no other first baseman would have caught.
Wow.
That would have been errors and would have stopped. In other words, no errors means I think Soraniano was the second baseman who later went to the Cubs.
Soriano.
And Soriano also played the outfield, by the way. Soriano's a very good. I think for the Cubs he played center field.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but he was a great second baseman. The Yankees probably had, if you put in history the 10 best infields defensively.
Yeah.
That infield was magician because you had the greatest shortstop in the major leagues at third base. You had one of the greatest shortstops in the major leagues at shortstop. And you had a superior athlete at second base. And Teixeira could be one of the top 10 defensive first basemen ever.
That was quite the team.
The guy was an effing magician digging the ball out of the dirt. And because of that, I think A-Rod and Jeter would get late.
That's funny.
He made
quite
errors.
the team.
I don't remember him ever making an error. I was a catcher, but I began as a first baseman. I got switched to being a catcher, and then every time I got injured, which was frequent, I would play first base.
Oh, nice.
And I have a little clip from the Daily News, which we'll have to find, Ted, for tomorrow. When I played as a middle-aged man first base for my team, the U.S. Attorney's team at Yankee Stadium, and they said the U.S. Attorney plays a very classy first base because I scooped a couple out of the dirt. And I have taught many kids how to play first base because my first Little League coach taught me how to play first base and how to catch, and he taught me these fundamental lessons, and I remember them. I used to follow them all the time. And I took a lot of kids who didn't know how to play first base and showed them how to do it. Showed them how you don't commit your foot to a base. You don't commit your foot to the base until the ball comes to you. A lot of kids automatically get nervous that they're not going to touch the base. So they put their foot on the base, right? Now their body is limited. By 2/3. You got to put your foot around the base. So you can push either foot back. That allows you to have maximum flexibility to go left, to go right, to come forward, to take your foot off the base if you have to, because it's better to catch the ball, even if you don't get the guy out, so he doesn't go to second base.
Makes sense.
And all the kids I do this with become really good first basemen.
First baseman, I remember growing up, late 90s, early 2000s, I always feel like the first baseman was often the least athletic
but he got to be the
players.
Well, think of the damage. And do you know that Joe Torre got really upset when they traded for Giambi?
Really?
Giambi was going to.
He was the first baseman.
Yeah, but he wasn't a good first baseman. He was a great hitter, but he wasn't good and Torre liked to have a team with great first. But when he got to Teixeira, he was happy as hell. He always had a great first base. Remember, they started with Mattingly.
Yeah.
It was like one of the 2 or 3 best in baseball.
Yeah.
So think of all the plays the first base, aside from the catcher, the first baseman touches the ball more than anybody else, right?
Besides, yeah.
He's like the catcher at first base.
Yeah, because the ball's going there.
Okay, now, if you assume that every throw to him is perfect, fine. But if you realize that a lot of times the second baseman, the shortstop, and the third baseman have to throw under great pressure.
From weird angles.
Yeah, it's understandable why the balls are going to be in the dirt. They're going to be high.
Get it there.
Well, that guy better be good or you're going to give up runs just based on him.
So he's got to be athletic enough to and high hand-eye coordination.
It's a certain kind of athleticism. He doesn't have to be the fastest guy in the world. He's got to have great hand-eye coordination. It is pretty good if he's taller.
Yep, to reach.
Not necessarily, but it's better, makes it easier for him. And his ability and intelligence is very, very important.
And awareness, right? Knowing the different
first baseman
players.
has to be a very intelligent baseball player.
Anticipating.
He has to know where to put it. It's not obvious where he should put himself.
Right.
Because it's not going to be judged. So now it's obvious for every baseball player where to put themselves. They do all the studying. They say the second baseman should be behind second base when this guy comes up, and the shortstop should be in the gap, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And how many times does the poor guy hit it right to them? I mean, you just see. I mean, 3 out of 4 times you see it all
Because they know where to stand.
Right.
If they did their homework on the hitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And the statistics are unreal. I mean, it's beyond the ability of a lot of people to think. However, the first baseman doesn't, because there's no way you're going to predict how the ball is going to be thrown at him. No way to predict if the shortstop is going to throw it right to him or is going to throw it to his right, to his left, over his head. Even if he can't catch it, if he's smart enough to make the decision real quick, I can't make this out, but I'll stop him from going to second. That's very important.
You're right. And just, you're right.
I mean, I've watched World Series. I mean, look at the great World Series with the Mets and the Red Sox. The Red Sox had the World Series won, right?
Yep.
And the first baseman couldn't make the play. Mets go on the next day to win the World Series. Had they not kept that guy in, who was injured, by the way.
Bucky Dent?
No. Bucky Dent hit the home run.
Oh, you're talking the guy between the legs. Who? What?
But they hate him in Boston.
Not Bucky Dent. You hate.
I'm going to let you get it.
Mm.
I think it's mean that they hate him in Boston, by the way. Because I don't think it was his fault. I think it was the manager's fault. We're talking, I think, about the 86?
Bill Buckner.
86?
1986, yeah.
1986, Bill Buckner, a very good player. One of the reasons that the Red Sox were in the playoffs in the World Series. But he had an injured ankle or knee. He literally couldn't bend physically. And this had occurred either during the playoffs, at the end of the season. It wasn't resolved in time for the playoffs. And here the Mets are ahead. I mean, the Dodgers are ahead in the 8th inning. The Red Sox are ahead in the 8th inning, I believe. Is it by 3 runs? I think so. Certainly 2 runs. Because I could have it confused with the Chicago situation. That was 3 runs that I happened to be present for also. I don't know how I was, but I was. So a ball is hit to him, to first base. A routine ground ball. If he makes the play and touches first base, I believe, I don't think they win the World Series immediately, but I think they get past that inning, and they would go into the 9th inning with a 2 or 3 run lead.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. The ball gets through his legs, 1 or 2 runs score. The Mets soon score another run and another run, and they get past the 6th game, and then they win the 7th at Shea Stadium. And the Red Sox, the curse of the Bambino continues until the Red Sox extinguish it in, there you go.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner.
Sorry to Red Sox fans. One more time. What we're talking
Little
about.
roller up along first. Behind the
And
bag.
end the week with some
It gets
sports.
through Buckner.
It's been a heavy week, so
So
nothing
that
wrong
is
with
not an unplayable. I mean, that's a play that a first baseman makes 99 out of 100 times. Slow ground ball. The biggest issue was going to be, could he beat him to the base once he caught it? 2 things that caused that. One, if he were totally healthy, and that happened, it would have happened because he was being too anxious about catching it to get to first base on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how often does that happen? When you can see footballs dropped, baseballs dropped, because the person is anticipating ahead. He moves. He sees somebody coming out in the tackle him. He moves. He misses the ball. Here, in his anxiety to get to first base, he might not have put himself all the way down. You got to catch the ball first, Bill, before you go to first. But I don't think that's it. Bill couldn't physically bend like that because if you go back in the World Series, you will see in almost every game, the manager took him out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning because he wanted him in for his bat and he wanted him out because he knew his defense was faulty because he was injured, not because he was a bad player. He was a good player. And the people in Boston have just about given this guy a nervous breakdown, which is why they're not Yankee fans. We wouldn't do that to our player. We empathize with him.
They're good. They did invite him back. If I recall.
Boston is tougher than New York. Do you know that? Ball players who played both places will tell you. And I've listened to Boston coverage. I'm telling you, it isn't just the fans; it's the sports writers.
Oh yeah, they
don't give you a break. They want you gone the minute you make a mistake.
And the radio guys.
No, I mean they have a great record, and right now they're half a game ahead of the Yankees. But and New York is pretty bad. I'm not saying New York isn't bad, and the sports writers aren't bad.
Let him know that he is. Won't you please welcome him back to Boston and let him know that he is welcome always. Number 6, Bill Buckner.
Well, this is many years later. This is after years of hatred.
Oh yeah, sorry, I don't want to destroy the narrative here, Mayor.
Yeah,
but
this is years later.
I want to be fair.
Okay, yeah, well, they eventually afforded it.
It's a unique sports moment, right, if you're from Boston.
Okay.
And for him, it must have been special.
Yeah, about 30 years later.
So, I thought that I wanted to, because I remember that happening and thinking that's nice. But you're right, it was against the Tigers. That's right. That's why I remember this. They were playing the Tigers, and but you're right. It was a little late, maybe. They probably did some damage.
It was after they gave him a nervous breakdown.
After 20 years of, can you imagine? He probably never lived that down, but.
And I think they all knew the story.
Yeah.
That he was put there under terrible circumstances.
Yeah.
And and the manager, this is where emotion never can figure into. The manager put him there because he said, because they had given up runs before that, but we're ahead by enough. He should be on the field when we win. He was on the field when they lost. Instead, you got to go with the odds. And he had been smart enough to do this in every game. Take the guy out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Because if he makes an error like that in the 3rd inning, he can make up for it. If he makes it and it's the winning run of the game, there ain't no way you're making up for it.
Right. Well, Mayor, we got one more sports story. I need to get your reaction to this.
Okay, we got to go to Dr. Maria now.
We do, but we have one more sports story. I want to get your reaction. This is making the rounds today on social media. And we've all probably seen this at games. What would you do in this situation if you're standing nearby?
What's he doing?
The player here, the kid,
yeah,
and this grown man takes it. Watch here. There's the hat. He's giving it to the kid. Oh, and the man takes it.
But the player didn't see it.
Right here.
The player didn't see it, Ted.
Yeah. But the grown man, I know the player did it right. The player ended up reaching out.
I would think if the player saw it, he would say, "Hey,
yeah,
jerk!"
Right? No,
the
player saw it on social media, reached out, identified the kid, got him a hat.
Oh, that's good.
But this guy, the player. I'm not accusing the player of anything wrong. I'm accusing this grown man. I'd like to think even now, if I caught a foul ball or got something from a player, I'd give it to the kid next to me.
Do you know that the chancellor of New York City school system took a ball from my son?
Those are the stories that can win and lose elections.
We were friends, and it was funny.
Yeah.
And Andrew had plenty of balls.
Yeah. Oh, took a ball from your son.
Andrew got the ball when he pulled it out of his hand.
Knowing you would have laughed it off, been shocked, but laughed it off and gotten Andrew a ball later.
I kind of laughed it off,
but
Andrew had plenty of balls. And
yeah.
I didn't want Andrew to feel entitled.
Yeah.
Andrew. Andrew? Andrew, for some reason,
he would give it to the lady. He'd give it to a grown man.
He grew up in a very entitled environment with cops around him, whatever.
Yeah.
And God, he's the most normal
He really
guy.
is. I want to give a shout out. Yeah.
What a great guy.
Shout out to Andrew.
Kind of like Trump. You know, you figure Trump would be like a really entitled bum. And he's just the most normal guy. He's a lot more normal.
Oh my gosh, man.
Almost any Democrat.
And you know, getting to know him through you, I can absolutely say about the president, but your son, Andrew, and Andrew, I'm not sucking up to try and get good seats to the soccer games, but big shout out to Andrew and the amazing work he's doing. And what a stand-up gentleman. I reached out to a mayor back in 2021. And he didn't know me, so I don't fault him for this, but I wanted to help him in that gubernatorial race. So I keep reminding now when I remind him when I see him, keep me up to date on what you're going to run for.
Pray for Israel. Pray for Ukraine. Pray for Iran. Pray for us and the president for sure. And pray for the people at the Annunciation Church. And pray longer and harder than usual to make up for the insult from the miserable communist politicians who are mocking prayer. Americans aren't like that, God. We understand. We understand that you're the superior being and we need your help. And we won't be here if it weren't for you. And that there's never a time when there's too much prayer. There are times when there's too little. And we're in that period of time now. And it may be one of the reasons why we've become so amoral, and actually shocking in the things that we do and say. And for that, I think many of us ask for your forgiveness. And we ask for the forgiveness of those who mocked prayer, particularly with so many people suffering who are true believers and do believe in the power of prayer. Can you imagine how hurtful that was to them? So we ask for your forgiveness. And we ask you to forgive the people who did it too, because that's what your son taught us. I got to give up my anger toward them. They don't know what they were doing. Well, a great way, I guess, to end the weekend. Make sure you go to church and pray for the people in Minneapolis who went through this and everybody else who's had to go through this. And let's hope we can kind of rally around as an intelligent, non-brainwashed society and look at the reasons this happens, see if we can ameliorate them, see if we can soften them. Even if we can't eliminate this, let's see if we can slow it down and reduce it, whatever. And sometimes if you reduce it, you end up ending it. This is how I did it with crime, and I had remarkable results. If I had a third or half of those results going in, I'd have been really satisfied. But he made them go further. Go to where are you going to go?
Lindell TV.
Okay. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply